This video is brought to you by Scopic.com. Get yours now.
Hey guys, welcome back. This is Phil from underKG.com, and today we're going to take a look at the iPhone 7 Plus. Since I dealt with most of the things in the iPhone 7 review, and there are some things that are specific to the Plus variant, so let's go through this very quickly. Firstly, the design hasn't changed much. Two new black colors are amazing, but this looks like a 6SS Plus. The bezels around the screen are still way too big, making it look like a phone 3 years behind. Also, the cameras look gross to me. The new home buttons do a great job at mimicking the physical home button, but they're still somewhat incomplete, as I couldn't feel the feedback properly when put on a desk. It's also waterproof, but only at the IP67 level. Most of the other phones have the IP68, and that's the way it has been for the years now. The display still looks very good, and wider color gamut and 25% enhanced brightness only adds up to it. But again, this scratches more easily than the other phones, so beware and arm your phones up with projectors. The new stereo speakers are okay. They're loud and have rich bass, but I would have definitely appreciated some more detail on it. For all these new innovations, they got rid of the headphone jack. Now you have to use a converter for your old headphones, and you just have to deal with it. You sure can use the Lightning and Bluetooth headphones, and you always could have since the iPhone 5. And now here we are at the important part. This is the best iPhone camera that they ever built, but don't rejoice since it's certainly not the best phone camera ever. But one magic thing that you haven't seen anywhere, aside from loads of Android phones, is the existence of the dual cameras. If conditions are met, you can zoom in for 2x with the telephoto lens. They generally look good, and this means your 10x digital zoom even will have less distortions. Another trick that you can pull off is the portrait mode. This basically is a software morph bokeh tool powered by dual lenses. We tested it with the beta software, and it pulled the best result that I've ever tested for these kind of implementations. Edges were smooth, object recognition is terrific. It's not perfect, but it's the closest to being one. But there is one big downside. The telephoto lens has worse aperture at f2.8 and smaller sensor, making it annoyingly noisy at darker environments. This is one interesting and useful feature, but I wouldn't choose the Plus solely over this. The A10 Fusion is a powerful chipset with the Apple's first dual cluster design. The lower power cluster will work with the lower demanding tasks, and the vice versa with the other two cores. You should be able to feel the raw power in advanced tasks, but most of the apps will feel just the same. Perhaps they could even feel worse, since the optimization is still not near perfect. The 7 Plus, unlike the vanilla 7, has 3 GB of RAM instead of 2, if that's going to give you a peace of mind. Running all these cool new features in the hardware is the iOS 10, and it still is a great piece of software, but I still don't get why there is no indication of force touch enabled actions. You just have to try it yourself, or you're going to miss the whole function forever. I do love the force touch cursor shifting, but iOS 10 needs to get more direct forward. It still is buggy as well. You'll see glitches here and there, and I still don't believe the reachability is the perfect solution for one-handed operation. Yes, you can surely reach the icons on the top, but what about the icons on the outer edges? One great thing about the bigger Pluses is the battery. It will give you 6 hours to 6.5 hours of screen on time, and this is the best battery life I've ever had on an iPhone. It really is impressive how they managed to pull this efficiency on a smaller cell. With all these good things aside, I still don't like the 1 amp charger, but I just gave up on it. And to wrap things up, I'm not a fan of Pluses. I dislike them. When Apple does something, I expect it to have a solid rationale behind it. But the Pluses are just big, and that's always it. The 7 Plus isn't much different. They try to add up a few neat features, but they eventually don't justify the thick bezels and uncomfortable handling. And the worst part is, they barely try to solve these problems. If you want a gigantic iPhone for no good reason, here's a great one. It just works, and it works just like any other iPhone, so you don't really have to learn anything. It just works great. But if you're considering about getting a bigger iPhone just because of the few neat features, I will really have to stop you. It's a good big iPhone, but before you consider this, you have to ask yourself why you would want a big iPhone. It certainly is a good phone, but if you want an iPhone, I would certainly go for a smaller one unless you have a really good reason for buying a gigantic big screen phone. Thank you all for watching. You can meet us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Google+, and we'll see you guys later. Ciao!